My parents blocked me on everything after I asked for my $32,000 back. Not a loan I asked them for. Money they begged me to lend. Money they promised, in writing, to pay back in 6 months. What kind of parents ghost their own kid over money they begged to borrow? The kind who thought I wouldn't fight back. The kind who underestimated just how good I am at keeping records. I had every text, every promise, every lie, and when they stopped answering my calls, I didn't break down. I screenshotted everything and built a case. 3 months later, I walked into a courtroom with my phone in one hand and a lawyer in the other. The judge took one look at my evidence and everything changed. Stick with me. Wherever you're watching from, New York, London, 3 a.m. in Tokyo, you'll want to hear how this ends. And if you're up late like me, wondering if the good guys ever actually win, hit that like button. Because sometimes, they do. Let me back up. I'm not someone who came from money. I worked 2 jobs through college. Campus library during the week, bartending weekends. I graduated debt-free because I couldn't stomach the idea of owing anyone anything. By 23, I had $10,000 saved. By 25, I bought a small condo. I wasn't rich. I was just careful. My parents? Different story. Mom and Dad always struggled with money, but they kept up appearances. New car every few years. Vacations they'd post all over Facebook. But behind the scenes, it was credit cards and missed payments. I learned early that if something wasn't in writing, it didn't happen. Family arguments over who said what, who promised what, they taught me to document everything. I still had the spreadsheet from the last time they borrowed $600 for car repairs. They paid that back. Took 4 months, but they did it. So I knew they could. I also knew I was the responsible one. My brother Tyler, golden child, dropped out of 2 colleges, still lived at home at 28, and Mom would say, "He's finding himself." When I bought my condo, Dad said, "You've always been so good with money." It sounded like a compliment. It wasn't, it was a label. The one who has it together. The one who can handle it. The one who won't say no. I didn't know that label would cost me $32,000. Or that I'd have to take my own parents to court to get it back. The call came late on a Tuesday night. Mom, crying. "Honey, I didn't want to ask, but we don't have anyone else." Dad got on speaker. His voice was tight, controlled. "I need surgery. Emergency. The insurance won't cover the deposit. If we don't pay the hospital by Friday, they'll cancel it. We could lose the house trying to cover this." I felt my stomach drop. "How much?" $32,000. Silence. Then Mom again, almost whispering. "We wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate. You know we're good for it. We'll pay you back. 6 months, monthly payments. We promise." I wanted to say no. Every instinct told me to say no. But they're my parents. What kind of person says no when their dad needs emergency surgery? "Put it in writing," I said. Dad didn't hesitate. 20 minutes later, a text came through. "We, Linda and Robert, agree to repay $32,000 in 6 monthly installments of $5,333.33 each, starting November 1st. I read it 3 times. Then I opened my banking app and transferred $32,000. It cleared in 18 hours. November 1st arrived. I sent a text. "Hey, just checking in on today's payment." 2 blue check marks. Read, no reply. November 2nd, I called. Straight to voicemail. November 3rd. I texted again. The message turned green. I'd been blocked. I stared at my phone for 10 minutes. Green bubbles meant I was no longer an iPhone contact. I checked Facebook. User not found. Instagram, same. I tried emailing. Bounced back. They'd blocked me everywhere. My parents had erased me. I got in my car and drove to their house. 22 minutes in silence, hands shaking on the wheel. Their cars were in the driveway. Lights on inside. I knocked. Rang the doorbell. Knocked again. I saw the curtain move. Someone looked out. The door stayed shut. I stood there like an idiot, feeling like a kid again, begging for attention I'd never get. A neighbor walked by with a dog. "Oh, they're home," she said brightly. Saw them this morning. I nodded, got back in my car, sat there for 20 minutes. That $32,000 wasn't just savings. It was my down payment fund. I'd been pre-approved for a bigger place, something with an office, maybe a yard. Now that letter was worthless. My credit card balance was climbing to cover the gap. And my parents, the people who were supposed to protect me, had stolen from me and then hid. I thought I'd lost. I thought there was nothing I could do. I was wrong, because I opened my phone, went to my screenshots folder, and started organizing. If they wanted to play dirty, I had an archive. I pulled up my bank account. There it was. Wire transfer confirmation. Sent October 15th, 10:47 p.m. Amount, $32,000.00. Recipient, joint account, Linda and Robert, screenshot. Next, the text thread. Dad's message, timestamped October 15th, 11:03 p.m. The written agreement, word for word, screenshot. Then I pulled up the messages I'd sent on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Each one showed 2 blue check marks. Read receipts. They saw every message. They just chose not to respond. Screenshot. And then I found the old PayPal record. 2 years ago, $600 sent for car repairs. 4 months later, $600 returned. Subject line, paid back, thanks again. They had a history of borrowing. They had a history of repaying. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was a choice. I made a folder on my desktop, labeled it Evidence, dropped every screenshot inside, organized by date. I felt something shift. The shame I'd been carrying, standing on their porch, begging them to open the door, it started to lift. This wasn't about me being ungrateful or greedy. This was theft. And I had proof. But the real kicker? I was about to find out what they actually spent my money on. 3 days later, I was scrolling Facebook. A mutual family friend posted a photo album. I almost scrolled past. Then I saw the tag. My parents. On a cruise ship. Tropical sunset behind them. Cocktails in hand. Huge smiles. The date stamp on the photo? October 28th. 13 days after I sent them $32,000 for emergency surgery. My stomach turned. I clicked through the album. 12 photos. Formal dinners, excursions, spa robes. And then a comment from my mom posted October 29th. Finally treating ourselves. We deserve this. I sat there staring at my screen, shaking. That's when my brother called, Tyler. Hey, so... Mom and Dad are saying you're harassing them? What? They told everyone you're demanding money back from a gift. That you're being greedy and making up some story about a loan. Aunt Jenny called me. Uncle Mark posted something vague on Facebook. They're making you look really bad. I closed my eyes. It wasn't a gift, Tyler. It was a loan. I have it in writing. Silence. I don't know what to tell you. They're really upset. Then, 2 hours later, Tyler forwarded a message. From Mom. Sent through him because she'd blocked me. Tell her we raised her. We fed her. We don't owe her anything. She needs to stop embarrassing us. And then she reblocked Tyler when he asked follow-up questions. I had 48 hours until my own rent was due. My credit card was maxed. My family thought I was the villain. And my parents were on a cruise. I had a choice. Let it go and lose everything. Or fight back. I went back to that Facebook album, downloaded every photo, checked the metadata. Cruise dates, October 20th through October 27th. My loan transferred October 15th. 5 days later, they were international. Then I remembered. Mom's Venmo was public. I pulled it up. And there it was. October 21st, boat drinks. $42. October 23rd, spa day finally. $340. October 24th, snorkeling excursion. $180. Every transaction was public. Every caption was smug. I screenshotted all of it. But I wasn't done. My cousin Emma had sent me something earlier that week. A group chat screenshot. Family thread I wasn't in. From October 13th, 2 days before they called me. Dad wrote, "Don't worry about us. We've got the money situation handled." There was no emergency, no surgery, no insurance crisis. They wanted a cruise. They needed my money to pay for it. And they assumed I'd never push back because I was the easy one. The responsible one. The one who wouldn't make a scene. I saved every single piece of evidence, organized it by date, cross-referenced the timeline. Loan sent October 15th. Cruise starts October 20th. First Venmo charge, October 21st. It was airtight, and I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. I was going to take it to a judge. I needed to understand why. Why would they do this? Tyler called me back that night. He sounded uncomfortable. "Look, I need to tell you something. I feel awful." "What?" "There was no surgery. Dad's fine. He had a regular checkup last month. Totally covered by insurance. They wanted the cruise." My hands went numb. "Why?" "They're friends. Jerry and Susan went to the Bahamas last year. Posted about it constantly. Mom couldn't stop talking about it. She was embarrassed they couldn't afford it. So when you started doing well, I think they just decided you owed them." I let that sink in. "Tyler, do you know how much debt they're in?" Silence. Tyler. $48,000. Credit cards. 4 of them. They've been making minimum payments for 3 years. I saw a statement on the counter last month. 48,000 in debt. And they took 32,000 from me for a vacation. It wasn't about need. It was about image. About keeping up. About proving to their retired friends that they were still living the good life. And it was about control. "We raised you. We fed you. You owe us." That's what the message said. They saw me as an asset, a backup plan, not a daughter, an ATM with a heartbeat. Now I knew exactly what to do, and I didn't feel guilty anymore. I booked a consultation with a lawyer, consumer rights attorney, high reviews, free first meeting. I walked in with my phone, my laptop, and a printed timeline. She looked at everything for maybe 10 minutes. Then she looked up. "You have a contract. Texts are legally binding in this state. You have proof of transfer, proof they received it, proof they read your follow-ups and chose not to respond. And you have documented evidence they spent the money on luxury travel instead of a medical emergency." She leaned back. "This is one of the cleanest cases I've seen. We file in small claims if it's under the limit, or civil court if we go for costs and fees. Either way, you'll win." I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. "What do I do?" "We file a civil complaint Monday. They'll be served within the week. Then we go to court." I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was scared, because I was deciding, if I did this, I'd be burning the bridge forever. No coming back. No holiday dinners. No reconciliation. But then I thought about standing on their porch while they hid inside. I thought about the cruise photos. I thought about the message. "We don't owe you anything." Monday morning, I signed the complaint. My hand didn't shake. The court clerk stamped it. Case number assigned. By Friday, my parents were served with a summons. That evening, my phone buzzed. A voicemail. Dad's voice, angry and shaking. "You're making a huge mistake. We'll countersue. You'll regret this." Empty threats. I saved the voicemail anyway. Court date, January 12th. 6 weeks away. I had 6 weeks to prepare. They had 6 weeks to panic. January 12th. The courtroom was small. Fluorescent lights. Wooden benches worn smooth. But it felt like a stadium. My parents arrived 10 minutes late. Mom's eyes were red. Dad's jaw was locked. Tyler trailed behind them, looking miserable. They didn't bring a lawyer. They were representing themselves. I had my attorney beside me, calm and prepared. The judge called the case. Case number 4472, Plaintiff versus Linda and Robert regarding breach of contract and repayment of loan. We stood. My lawyer started. "Your Honor, this is a straightforward breach of written contract. The defendants borrowed $32,000 from my client under the pretense of a medical emergency, promised in writing to repay in 6 monthly installments. and subsequently blocked all communication when the first payment came due. She pulled up the first exhibit on the screen. Exhibit A, wire transfer confirmation. October 15th. $32,000 sent from plaintiff to defendant's joint account. The judge looked at the screen, then at my parents. Exhibit B, text message from defendant Robert, time-stamped October 15th, 11:03 p.m., explicitly stating the terms of repayment. Dad shifted in his seat. Exhibit C, read receipts from November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, proving defendant saw plaintiff's request for payment and chose not to respond. Mom wiped her eyes. Exhibit D, Facebook photos, time-stamped October 28th, showing defendants on a cruise, taken 13 days after receiving the loan purportedly for emergency surgery. A few people in the gallery murmured. Exhibit E, Venmo transactions during said cruise, showing luxury purchases including spa services and excursions, all paid for during the dates of October 20th through 27th. My lawyer turned to the judge. The timeline is clear. The evidence is uncontested. The defendants fabricated an emergency, obtained funds under false pretenses, and refused repayment. The judge looked at my parents. Do you dispute any of this evidence? Silence. Then Dad spoke. Your Honor, it was a gift. We're her parents. We raised her. The judge held up a hand. Sir, your own text message uses the word repay and specifies installment amounts. That is not a gift. That is a contract. Mom tried. We didn't think she'd actually... You didn't think she'd hold you accountable? The judge's tone was ice. This court recognizes a written agreement as binding. The evidence is clear and uncontested. Judgment is awarded to the plaintiff. She looked down at her notes. Defendants are ordered to repay $32,000 in principal, plus $1,200 in court costs, plus $420 in service fees. Total, $33,620. Payment plan or wage garnishment begins in 30 days. The gavel fell. My parents stood frozen. Then they walked out. No eye contact, no words. Tyler lingered near the door. He mouthed, I'm sorry. I nodded. Outside, my lawyer shook my hand. You did the right thing. I exhaled for the first time in 3 months. I won. But winning felt nothing like I'd imagined. The garnishment started 30 days later. $580 a month, automatically deducted from Dad's paycheck. It would take 5 years to pay off the full amount. My parents never called. Never texted, never apologized. Tyler reached out once, a few weeks after the judgment. He said Mom and Dad were humiliated. That their friends found out. That the cruise photos now felt like evidence of shame instead of a highlight reel. I didn't gloat. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt relief. The money came back slowly. $580 a month. Every payment was a reminder, not of what they did, but of what I did. I stood up for myself. I didn't let love be an excuse for theft. I bought a condo, smaller than I'd originally planned, but it was mine. Fully mine. No cosigners. No help, no strings. I started seeing a therapist. We talked about family, boundaries, and grief. Because I was grieving, not the parents I lost, but the parents I never really had. The ones who would have protected me instead of using me. I set firm boundaries with my extended family. The aunts and uncles who believed my parents' story without asking mine? I kept them at arm's length. The ones who reached out after the judgment to apologize? I let them in cautiously. Tyler and I talk now. Not often. But honestly, he apologized for not believing me sooner. I'm still deciding if I can rebuild that bridge. A year after the judgment, I did something I didn't expect. I took $1,000 from my own earnings, not the repayment, and donated it to a financial literacy nonprofit. In my own name. Not to prove anything, but to reclaim the narrative. To turn something ugly into something that could help someone else avoid the same trap. I learned something through all of this. Love without respect is just manipulation. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're survival. And documentation isn't paranoia when the people who should protect you are the ones you need protection from. My parents taught me to save everything. They just didn't think I'd use it against them. But I wasn't using it against them. I was using it for me. 6 months ago, Tyler sent me a text. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner." I read it. I didn't reply right away. Some bridges take longer to rebuild. And that's okay. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done being small. This story is a fictionalized dramatization for educational and entertainment purposes, not legal or financial advice. If you're facing a similar situation, consult a licensed attorney in your area. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between family and your own boundaries? Have you ever been the responsible one who got taken advantage of? Drop your story in the comments. This community sees you, and if this helped you feel less alone, if it gave you permission to stand up for yourself, hit that subscribe button. Because you're not crazy. You're not cruel. You're not ungrateful. You're just done letting people steal from you, whether it's money, peace, or your sense of self. Thanks for watching. And remember, keep your receipts. You never know when you'll need them.